The FedLife podcast is presented by Serving Those Who Serve, a fiduciary, fee-based financial planning firm serving federal government employees and retirees all over the country. This podcast is for informational purposes only and is not intended to be taken as financial advice. All listeners should consult their personal advisors before taking any action. The opinions expressed by our hosts are their own and do not reflect the views, policies, or position of Raymond James. Securities are offered through Raymond James Financial Services, Inc., member FINRA SIPC. Investment advisory services are offered through Raymond James Financial Services Advisors, Inc. Serving Those Who Serve is not a registered broker-dealer and is independent of Raymond James Financial Services, Inc. And now, here are your hosts. Dan Sipe serves as a branch manager for Raymond James Financial Services and Serving Those Who Serve. Ed Zerndorfer is our guest and federal benefits expert in the space.
Hello and welcome to this episode of the FedLife podcast. I'm your host, Dan Sipe. Additionally, I am the branch manager here at Serving Those Who Serve and Lee Sipe & Associates. I want to begin, as I always do, by saying thank you. Thank you, number one, for taking the time to listen or watch. We know your time is valuable, so it means the world to us that you're spending it with us. And also, thank you for your service. The government, to the country, to me, to everyone. You do not hear that enough, but you're always going to hear it here. The other thing that you can always count on with FedLife is you are going to hear my buddy Ed Zerndorfer. Yes, the guru is back once again as part of our ongoing mission to reach, teach, and serve you, the career civilian Fed. Once again, we're going to follow Ed's FedZone articles, where you can find them each week at the FedZone, fed-zone.com. This gives us one more way to amplify and reach and teach. We're going to continue in our tax vein, and in this case, we have a dandy one. Ed's article warns of the possible pitfalls of delaying RMDs, required minimum distributions, as a result of the Secure 2.0 Act. So, Ed, let's start with a little background, because we spend our days marinating in this. Our feds may or may not. Let's talk a little bit about what happened with Secure 1 and Secure 2 and how dates got pushed back for those required minimum distributions. Walk us through those.
Sure, Dan. In December 2019, Congress passed the Secure Act, now known as Secure Act 1.0, because they subsequently passed Secure Act 2.0. But one of the provisions in Secure Act 1.0 was it raised what's called the required beginning date. What is the required beginning date? It is April 1st following the year that you turn 70 and a half back then, in which you have to start taking what's called required minimum distributions, RMDs. RMDs are applied to traditional IRAs, the TSP, 401k plans, 403b plans, 457 plans, any type of qualified retirement plan, in which you have to, when you reach that age, it's called the required beginning date, starting that year and every year thereafter, you have to take out a minimum amount, and the plan administrator will figure out what that minimum amount is. You can take out more, but you got to take out a minimum. If you don't, you're going to be subject to a penalty. Well, until the passage of Secure Act 1.0, the required beginning date, as I said, was April 1st following the year that you turned 70 and a half. Secure Act changed that effective January 1st, 2020. The required beginning date for people born after June the 30th, 1949 is April 1st following the year you turn 72. And then when Congress passed Secure Act 2.0 in December 2022, they further raised the required beginning date to what? Age 73. Age 73 for individuals born after December 31st, 1950 and before January 1st, 1960. And they further increased the RMD to individuals born after December 31st, 1959, to age 75. April 1st, sure. Following you turn 75. So the required beginning date for RMDs was increased over time. And it was welcome news I was born in 1951. I said, I got an extra year to take my RMD. I retired from from the federal government. I had TSP. I hadn't touched my TSP since I retired. But now, April 1st, following the year, I turned 73, which was April 1st, 2024. I got to take my first RMD. So
gotcha. And boy, I'll tell you, your column makes a great point. We see it in planning. And again, we live in this world, Ed, but I think a lot of feds, retired feds primarily, could be smacking into this. So there's a potential tax problem that can come from the longer you go, bigger your RMD has to be. When you combine that with the expiration of the Tax Cuts and Jobs Act coming up, that can really cause some headaches for people, correct?
That's correct. As you know, Dan, when it comes to the traditional TSP that most federal, employees have, the contributions that go into the traditional TSP are deducted the year that they're made. And then the contributions accrue earnings over time. FARS employees getting matching contributions to the contributions they make. And again, they get accrued earnings, and everything is growing over time, tax deferred. You do not pay any taxes on your traditional TSP until you withdraw the money. The longer you keep it in there, the potential is it's going to grow over time. I say potential. There's no guarantee here. No guarantee, of course. But you reach that point, that age, in which you're going to have to start taking money out. And the larger the traditional TSP balance when you take the money out, the more you're going to have to pay in federal and state income taxes if you live in a state that has state income tax. So it's welcome news. I don't have to take the money out. I don't have to pay taxes, and it's going to keep growing. That's great news. Well, you're going to pay the price. It's not, in my opinion, it's not welcome news. It's just going to delay the inevitable. And the inevitable means paying potentially more taxes.
Now, you do share a pretty neat strategy, and that is to explore doing strategic Roth conversions. And, I really wish those words appeared in public more, because we hear Roth conversion, all the time. Don't hear that much about doing it strategically. So what do you see here?
Well, what I see here is the following. If you are a federal employee over the age of 59 and a half, or you're a federal retiree, you are allowed to transfer a portion of your traditional TSP to a traditional IRA and then convert the traditional IRA to a Roth IRA. You cannot, I repeat, you cannot transfer a portion of your traditional TSP to a Roth IRA. That's not allowed. But you can transfer it, do a direct rollover tax-free, and then convert the traditional IRA to a Roth IRA. You got to pay the tax. But here's the point. In so doing, Dan, it's going to reduce the balance in your traditional TSP account. So that in the future, when you reach that age, that required beginning date, 70, 73, 75, you'll have less of a balance in your traditional TSP account, and therefore your RMD will be less, and therefore you'll pay less tax on the RMD. This year, 2024 and 2025 is a good time to employ that strategy. If you are younger than your required beginning date. Now, if you're still in federal service, let me just say this. No matter what your age is, if you're still in federal service, if your required beginning date, let's say, was April 1st following the year that you turned 70 and a half, which is long past, or 72, and you're still in federal service, you do not have to you're not subject to TSP RMD because you're still working. This applies to you also, because this is an opportunity to cut down on the size of the balance of the traditional TSP and do it to your advantage. Why is it to your advantage to do it, let's say, this year or next year? You transfer the money to traditional IRA. It's a direct rollover, not taxable. You convert the traditional IRA to a Roth IRA. You're cutting down the balance in your traditional TSP account. You're paying a tax now in 2024, 2025, or 2025 when tax rates are low. Let's back up here. The current low individual tax rates, Dan, and they are the lowest they've ever been, are a result of the passage of the Tax Cuts and Jobs Act of 2017. Congress passed the Jobs Act and Tax Cuts and Jobs Act of 2017, took effect January 1st, 2018, signed into law at that time by President Trump, and lowered income tax rates. Here's the problem. That the Tax Cuts and Jobs Act 2017 is going to go away come January 1st, 2026, unless Congress renews it. If you ask me the question, Dan, will Congress renew it? I don't make any predictions what Congress is going to do. I've got now that I had tried. I can't. I don't know what they're going to do. But just to be on the safe side, I think federal employees, federal retirees should take advantage of that.
Sure.
Why do I say that? Because tax rates now are lower than they've ever been, and they may not stick around. So take advantage of it. Convert traditional IRAs to Roth IRAs while you can. And I'm saying to the retirees, if they're younger than their RMD, because once you reach your required beginning date, you got to do TSP RMD. It gets a little more difficult to do these conversions. So again, I think it's important employees and retirees have a plan. This is a suggestion to start doing those conversions.
And folks, I couldn't agree with Ed more. Talk to your advisors about it. If you don't have one, you can feel free to reach out to us, meetings@scwserve.com. No obligation, no strings. We'll help you understand it and help you evaluate it. Now, Ed, you also mentioned in your column that our feds who are still working when their RMD ages roll around, and we actually see that a fair amount, have the ability to defer taking money from at least the TSP while they're working. So is that correct?
That is correct. As long as you're still in federal service, no matter what their age is, they are not, if they reach their required beginning, they do not have to take an RMD. But if they have traditional IRAs, they got to take an RMD from their traditional IRA. Maybe they worked in private industry. They had put money into a 401k plan. And the 401k plan also has an RMD. One suggestion is if you've not reached that required beginning date, I would definitely think about maybe if you don't want to pay an RMD on the traditional IRA or the 401k plan, whatever plan you have, you could roll that money into your TSP account. As long as it sits in your TSP account, it will not be subject to RMD because it's no longer in TSP. I have another suggestion though for the traditional IRAs in order to avoid having to pay an RMD on the traditional IRAs. And this would also apply here. I'll talk about how a TSP participant can take advantage of this loophole too. There's something called qualified charitable distributions. And I see you're applauding, Dan, and I agree with you.
Oh, they're great. Sorry, Ed. You just touched my heart. So I didn't mean to break your concentration there, sir.
I know you're a philanthropic person. So again, you're charitable. And so and then you make these suggestions all the time to your clients.
Sure.
Well, what exactly is a qualified charitable distribution? Just make it very simple. If you are over 70 and a half, you're allowed to direct your IRA custodian to make a payment to your favorite charity. It could be a church, a synagogue, a mosque. It could be for the goodwill. And the money will come out, the custodian will take the money, write a check out from your IRA account, traditional IRA account, and send it to the charity. Now, money coming out of traditional IRA, when you take money out of your traditional IRA, normally not to be taxed. But if via a qualified charitable distribution, it does not going to be counted as income. At the same time, you cannot claim a deduction. You can't have your cake and eat it too. But one thing it will do, it'll cut down the size of your traditional IRA. And if you have reached your RMD, you have reached your required beginning date, which you have to take money out of the traditional IRA. The QCD can fulfill your RMD. Let's say somebody, and I had some examples in the column. Let's say somebody has an RMD for their traditional IRA of $25,000, and they have a church that they want to give the money to, make a donation to the church. They have the goodwill. So the church, their IRA custodian writes out a check from the IRA account, $15,000 to the church and $10,000 to the goodwill. That's a total of $25,000. The traditional IRA owner has fulfilled their RMD for the year. And here's another interesting thing. Suppose they want to take out, suppose they say to the IRA custodian, well, I really would like to take some more money out. Let's make it another $5,000 beyond the $25,000. So they take out $30,000. $25,000 goes to the two charities. The $5,000 is taken out and done. And what can they do with the $5,000? Convert the $5,000 to a Roth IRA.
Gotcha.
Therefore, getting another $5,000 out of the IRA, that's not going to be subject to RMD. I love those QCDs. They really can be helpful.
Absolutely, folks. See, here's the thing. We've heard all the terminologies: tax time bomb, tax tsunami, things like that. You could be really, really surprised at how much you need to take out at 72 or 75 and how that might impact you. Not the least of which, if you're in Medicare Part B and they bump you up out of that, because unlike the IRS tax code, you go into the next bracket for $1, you only pay it on the dollar. You go $1 over on the IRMA brackets, you're paying more for the next year. So this is worth taking time to have a strategy, folks, for this. Now, Ed, your column rounds out with discussing the different rules for inherited IRAs. So tell our folks what we're seeing there.
All right. So another provision out of Secure Act 1.0 was the fact that when someone inherits a traditional IRA, and that could be anybody, it could be a spouse, it could be a child, an adult child, I should say, it could be a sibling, that unlike before the passage of Secure Act 1.0, for a non-spousal beneficiary, the inherited IRA has to be withdrawn in full within 10 years of the death of the traditional IRA owner. Now, a spousal beneficiary can roll the inherited IRA into their own IRA. They're not subject to this 10-year rule. But a non-spousal beneficiary has to take the money out in full and pay taxes as a traditional IRA by the end of the December 31st of the 10th year following the death of the IRA owner. Now, gotcha. Secure Act 2.0 had a little more information about this, because if the traditional IRA owner had reached their required beginning date and they passed away, then the designated beneficiary not only who is a non-spouse, not only has to take the money out within 10 years, but they're going to be subject to an RMD too during the 10 years. Each year they got to take out a minimum, years 1 through 10. By the end of that year, they have to be all cleaned out. Think about this. Here you're inheriting IRA and you're subject to RMD. It could be any age. Well, it got a little complicated. So IRS decided, well, we're not going to require RMDs in the first year. The first year was 2021. 2022, they said they waived the RMD for inherited traditional IRA beneficiaries, 23 and 24. And these inherited and these non-spousal, oh, this is great. I don't have to take any money out of the traditional IRA. Again, I know I have to take it out. Again, the rule of withdrawing the entire inherited traditional IRA account within 10 years, at the end of the 10th year, still applies. So these beneficiaries were jumping for joy. I said, I had a client like this. I had a client during tax season. Said, oh, I'm great. I just heard the IRS is going to waive it for 2024. I haven't touched it. And I'm going to wait to the end of the 10th year. The relative died back in 2021. They said, I'm going to wait till December 31st, 2031 to take out the whole thing. I said, I don't think that's a good idea. Oh, why? You heard about tax deferral? Yeah, I know about tax. You're going to go out of the account. But guess what? That traditional IRA account is going to be huge. And you're going to take the whole thing out. And you're going to be paying a lot of taxes. The amount of that traditional IRA the result could be when you take that money out, could bump you to a higher federal and state tax bracket. That is not a good strategy. You're much better off taking out a little each year, especially in 2024, 2025. We talked about this earlier, that income tax rates are low. Come 2026, you go back up, so take advantage of it. This way you'll end up paying less tax. And come the end of the 10th year, you'll take out the rest. It won't be that bad.
Yep. Makes sense. Makes sense. Ed, you did it again, sir. You took a topic that got people's heads spinning, and you made it accessible and understandable. Folks, head over to the Fed Zone, read Ed's article. He always has great examples in there. It's super accessible, super understandable. So, Ed, once again, on behalf of all Feds everywhere, thank you for what you do.
My pleasure, Dan. Always a pleasure helping the federal workforce, federal retirees. That's what we're here for. Other information out there, and the webinars we have each month, the podcast, of course, and then there's also blogs on the website there. A lot of information, ladies and gentlemen. Knowledge is power. Educated. The more you read, the more you listen, the more you're going to know. And that's what it's all about. We're here to help. Well, please, leave answer.
Absolutely. Couldn't have said it better myself, Ed. So that's it, folks. We are Serving Those Who Serve. So be sure to hit that subscribe button on YouTube or Spotify. And please remember to share it with your friends. I think they will thank you for it. Don't forget those live webinars that Ed mentioned every single week. Pretty much we got them. Head over to swserve.com. You'll see the blue webinar button. Click it. It's going to take you over to the menu. There's a ton there, including some that no other people do. We've got stuff for special provisions. We're still doing a dedicated CSRS. Suppose these jokers just roll everything into a single hour or a 3-hour thing. It's all you need to know. No, that's nonsense. Okay. All you need to know is all the information that's out there. And we're going to do our level best to cover all of it and give it to you in usable chunks and bites. So check that out. And be sure to share it with your colleagues. They're going to thank you. Best part of this is all over Zoom. So Ed will come to you, teach you where you are, reach you where you are, and serve you where you are. Sign up for one, sign up for all of them. Okay. And be sure, again, read Ed every single week in the Fed Zone at feds-zone.com. The articles are fantastic. So let's close this out, as I always do. For Ed, the crew at Serving Those Who Serve, and me, Dan Sipe, it's good luck, Godspeed, and above all, remember, it's your FedLife, so make it a great one because you deserve it. Stay well, everybody. We are out.